Welcome to Football Letter Live. We're bringing you a special episode during We Are Weekend featuring Letterman linebacker Dr. Ray Tesner, who starred for the Nittany Lions in the 1970s. Dr. Tesner is a sports medicine orthopedic surgeon at Ohio Health Grant Medical Center, and he'll share stories about his time playing for Penn State and Coach Joe Paterno, and much, much more. Football Letter Live is member supported, and we're so grateful for the support of our members. If you're a Penn Stater, you belong in the Alumni Association. And if you love Penn State, you're in the right place. This is Football Letter Live. Well, welcome into Football Letter Live. As always, I'm joined by my co-host, John Patishnock. John, how are you today?
I'm doing great, Paul. We are revved up for a big weekend for We Are Weekend. I'm doing great. Looking forward to seeing 700-plus Penn Staters this weekend.
Yes, happy We Are Weekend.
Yeah, I was out at the Penn Stater earlier today. Our all-star events team was out there in full go mode. I spoke with someone out there. I told them this is basically our Super Bowl this weekend. This is one of our biggest weekends of the year. It's really an opportunity for us to connect with Penn Staters, to connect with Pioneers, and allow them to experience campus in some ways like they haven't experienced since they were on campus as students. So a lot to look forward to this weekend.
Absolutely. And as with our team, they continue to innovate and grow and change the way we offer these programs every year. We Are Weekend is actually We Are Weekend Week, if you will. I don't know if that's proper grammar or whatnot, but we have been sponsoring virtual programs all throughout the week, and we're capping it off here on Thursday with three great virtual programs, of which Football Letter Live gets to be included in that fabulous lineup. So John, it's good to be back, right? We did the special episode around blue white. I think these couple special episodes outside of football season continues to scratch the itch that we have for Penn State football.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, as James Franklin will say, there's really no off season for Penn State football. Something's always in the news. They wrapped up spring practice and had blue white back in April. They had freshman media session a few weeks ago. James Franklin and the assistant coaches met with the media a few weeks ago, to give up some updates on players who are coming into the program, transferring, or freshmen who are getting on campus. And so a lot to look forward to for Penn State football as we look forward to fall camp. But yeah, it's one of those things where Penn Staters don't stop thinking about football in January and start thinking in September. It's a year-round passion, which makes Penn State fans the most passionate fan base in the country.
Absolutely. There's football season, there's spring football season. That's it. There's 2 seasons of the year. John, we're going to talk to Ray Tesner in just a couple minutes. What a fantastic story that he has. Again, put it in the column of success with honor in terms of the career that he's been able to build and the way he's been able to incorporate family into the career that he's been able to build as an orthopedic surgeon in Ohio. We look forward to passing his story on in just a couple minutes.
Yeah, absolutely. And Ray Tesner might not be a name familiar to a lot of Penn State fans, or at least fans of, the recent generations, but really an all-star linebacker, early 70s, played in a number of big name bowls. Very successful Penn State teams early in 70s, which of course was Joe Paterno's first decade as head coach of Penn State. Shared some great stories. He lives in Buckeye country, but as he'll tell you, he is a Nittany Lion. We spoke with him for about 20 plus minutes earlier this week, and that will be coming up here shortly, so stay tuned.
John, a lot going on at the Alumni Association. If people don't know about We Are Weekend it's essentially our reunion weekend that we have here at the Penn State Alumni Association, where we welcome alumni back to Happy Valley from all over the world, really. And I'm looking at the lineup for tomorrow, and it is like a behind the scenes tour of Penn State, whether you're going to the Blue Band building or to the Eric Barron Innovation Hub building, or you got to preview a little bit of the Beaver Stadium tour that's going to be going on tomorrow.
Yeah, we were over there on Wednesday, going with our walkthrough. Just 2 absolute all-stars, Bob White and Spider Caldwell. They helped lead the walkthrough. They've been doing this for 20 plus years, leading the tour. And you said it. It's it gives Penn Staters an opportunity to truly go behind the scenes, to get behind the scenes access. They get to see places that are not open to the public. They get to ask people questions who they might not necessarily get a chance to interact with on a regular basis. And so if you want to ask Spider Caldwell, stories about Joe Paterno, stories about, his time with the Nittany Lions, that's a great opportunity. Bob White will share stories. But to your point, whether it's the Blue Band or the Libraries Conservation Center, the new Eric J. Barron Innovation Hub downtown, Penn State continues to innovate, continues to be a global leader. And you're going to be able to figure out why and see why and learn why up close. Penn Staters are going to be able to go home and say, guess what I saw this weekend? Guess who I talked to? And those are, lifelong memories that Penn Staters make no matter what generation they're from.
Yeah. Talking about kind of changes and innovations to the programs here at the Penn State Alumni Association. I know the team around the Hintz Family Alumni Center has been hard at work with what we've kind of internally called the One Membership Project, right? Essentially having one membership that opens the key to all of the affiliate groups, to all the services, all the programs, all the great communications provided by the Penn State Alumni Association and our volunteers around the country. We used to be this layered membership program where you had to join the association and then join your local chapter. And every time you turned around, it was another affiliate group asking you to pay your dues. And now we've kind of done away with all of that, and that one membership. When you join the Penn State Alumni Association, you now have access to the full power of the Penn State network.
Yeah, absolutely. It's one alumni association, and our affiliate group network, our chapter network, that group is so inspiring, those groups, those volunteers. And they truly make a difference. In our LinkedIn group, we had, a Penn State graduate who said that they just moved to Atlanta, was looking to connect with Penn Staters. And I said, hey, connect with our Atlanta chapter, shared them the link. And then a couple members from that group, from the Atlanta group, saw the LinkedIn post. They jumped in and said, hey, I just sent you a connection, come out to our events. And so you're right. We want to make it as seamless as possible that when you graduate Penn State, the very next week, you can be involved in a chapter, in an affiliate group, in any type of way that you want to be in the Alumni Association. So when you become a member, you become a member of everything that's available to you. It's no more do this and then do that. Once you're a member, you are in for life.
Absolutely. And if you're looking to become a member of the world's largest alumni association, you can visit our website at alumni.psu.edu today and support all the great things going on here at Penn State. Well, I'm looking, John, in the studio here, and I can see our wonderful producer, Vincent Longaro, who is also the producer of the People of Penn State podcast. If you don't know what the People of Penn State podcast is, go out to where you consume your podcasts, and you'll be exposed to some wonderful and inspiring stories of Penn Staters really making an impact in their career and in their communities. We bring those stories to you a couple times each month on the People of Penn State podcast. So if you're not subscribed and haven't downloaded our most recent episodes, go ahead and do that. We have a great show coming up, and I think we're going to release it next week. Ben Feller, former White House chief correspondent or senior correspondent, has just wrote a children's book about his relationship with his son. So Ben continues to do great things after his time at the White House and now working with a marketing and PR firm in New York City.
Yeah, just all-star writer, continues to, make a difference. He was on, we've talked with him a few times. You could talk with him 10 times and there's still going to be things to discuss. And, he's very proud to be a Penn State grad. And, certainly that will be a good conversation that you'll want to hear.
Well, look, there is the opportunity to share shout outs in the chat area. We hope that if you are watching on one of the numerous platforms that we are now able to stream on, that you go ahead and give us a shout out, even if it's just a we are from where you are today, to let us know that you're watching and that you're enjoying this great special We Are Weekend episode of the Football Letter.
Yeah, let us know. And do you want to bring in the Ray, bring in our conversation with Ray?
Yeah, buddy, Ray, whatever you want to call him. Let's bring Doc into the show.
So we talked with Ray.
Well, as John mentioned, we have a great show lined up today. Dr. Ray Tesner is in the studio with us. John, why don't you go ahead and let folks know about Dr. Tesner?
Yeah, we're thrilled today to be joined by Dr. Ray Buddy Tesner. He started linebacker for Penn State in the early 70s, played on a number of incredibly impressive and accomplished and successful teams, played in the Sugar, the Cotton, the Orange Bowl, and two-sport athlete, played lacrosse at Penn State as well. And so also notable for Dr. Tesner, he created the Penn State Football Letterman's Club. And for more than 3 decades, he's been a sports medicine orthopedic surgeon at Ohio Health Grant Medical Center. Incredibly inspiring story. He works with his brother there. We're going to get into a couple details with him. Dr. Ray Tesner, welcome to Football Letter Live. Paul and I are thrilled that you're joining us today.
Well, thanks for having me, fellas. I've been looking forward to it. And you briefed me a little bit before about your program and the background of it, so I'm very happy to be involved.
So let's start at the beginning, Ray. How did you become a Nittany Lion?
Well, I'm from Ohio, Northeast Ohio, but when I grew up, I wasn't a big Buckeye nut. Like my part of the state is not so crazy, at least at those times of year. So I was a linebacker, and Penn State played 4 linebackers, and Ohio State played 2. And my trip to Penn State, and as you probably, in talking to a lot of our football athletes over the years, found out that Joe and Sue Paterno were great recruiters and recruit the family, as much as the athlete. And when my parents and I took our trip and had our time in at Penn State at the Nittany Lion Inn and all the ambiance there, and we were driving home, was kind of sold on the whole program. So I had to tell Woody Hayes I wasn't coming. He called me a traitor and hung up on me, and I had nothing but good stuff from then on. Of course, now it's slightly awkward because I now live in Columbus, Ohio, in Buckeye Mania, and it's not easy, but I'm back in Ohio, and I'm a proud Penn Stater.
Well, that sounds on brand for Ohio State and for Coach Hayes. John said something in your introduction that jumped out at me. You mentioned you're a two-sport athlete, right? So you've certainly made contributions as an athlete at Penn State, but it seems like one of your lasting legacies here at Penn State is being one of the founders of the Penn State Letterman's Club. How did that formation come about, and how did it come to fruition? Take us back to the early days.
Well, it's a really good story, actually. I came back for a football weekend and brought some of my family with me, and I drove up, my uncle's Winnebago. And at that time, there was no organization, so to speak, for where to see your ex-teammates and alumni or, lettermen and so forth. So you'd run into somebody in the bathroom, or you didn't know who was going to be there that weekend. And still was great. But anyway, after the game, we had a keg of beer in the Winnebago, and my buddies got on there with me, and we decided, after a couple of beers, that we were going to go to our assistant coaches. We had great assistant coaches, and at that time, a lot different than these days where so much changed, but all these assistants had been here for 20 plus years, and Joe had been here for 20 plus years, and everybody knew each other. So anyway, we went to assistant coaches, and he got a beer, and then we went to, and he got on our Winnebago, and we went to another assistant coaches, and he got on the Winnebago, and then J.T. White, who was a character, a longtime defensive end coach here, who played at Michigan and Ohio State, said, this is baloney. He said, at Ohio State and Michigan, we have Letterman's Club, and then you can meet in one place and all know who's there and have some organization. And we said, yeah, this is beard up, yeah, we need a Letterman's Club. Let's drive over to Paterno's house and demand a Letterman's Club. So we drive the Winnebago over, and as was his custom, after every game, this was after the game, Saturday night, probably at 9 or 10 o'clock, he'd have sportscasters and various people at his house, and Sue made a big spaghetti dinner. It was a big hoopla. So we barge in on this party, and said, Joe, we want a Letterman's Club, and Sue took up the reins. She goes, yeah, Joe, we got to get them a Letterman's Club. So from then on, with Sue's help, I got the bylaws from Notre Dame and Ohio State, and I kind of plagiarized those into our bylaws, and had a couple of meetings, and the Letterman's Club got started. And it's been great. The first kickoff meeting we had, we had some awesome, there was an organization. So we had a meeting, and I think there was 200 or 300 Lettermen came back. It was in the old ice arena. We turned it into a kind of a roast for Rip Engel. And a lot of the guys that were Lettermen had played for him at that time as well. Right. And so, and that was, and Rip died shortly after that. So it was a chance for him to see his guys in mass and give a little speech. And it was timely because, like I mentioned, he died quickly after that. And so from then on, it just kind of took off. And then we decided then that we needed a clubhouse. So we had some architects, and we had some drawings made, and the clubhouse was going to be the old press box for a while. And they said, no, we'll build a freestanding one like where the Bryce Jordan is now, because that wasn't there then. No. And then it ended up being inside the stadium when they did their renovation. So we have a wonderful clubhouse where everybody goes before the games and have some foods in there, and there's TVs in there, and you meet people in there. So it filled the vision that we had of being able to hook up with guys when you're on campus and serve. And it turned out to be one of the best Letterman's clubs around. And just by happens, most Letterman's clubs are mixed in with all the other sports. Ours stands free, just the way it worked out. So we got autonomy, and we have a great club, and it's been great.
That's a great story. John, we've heard that before, right? If you want something to happen at Penn State, you go to Sue Paterno, right?
Yeah.
Bypass Joe. If Sue gives her thumbs up, it's going to happen.
She took it and ran, and it got done.
Hey, Ray, you were just back on campus actually a couple of weeks ago, meeting with Letterman from over the generations. When you've got so many Lettermen together, what's the atmosphere like? What's the vibe like? I have to imagine that you guys really enjoy seeing one another.
Well, it's great. You got your own era, of course. Your 4 years that you're here, those guys in that era are the guys you hang with, so to speak. But everybody's got their own little cliques, I guess you'd say. And the thing that changed that was so unique is that for years and years and years and years, a lot of the stories were similar because a lot of the coaches were similar. Specifically, Joe was here, so guys. 10 years before me and 30 years after me all had Paterno stories, and a lot of the assistant coaches as well, so that made us very unique and wonderful, of course, as happens everywhere. And in our case, in a drastic fashion, things change. So new coaches and don't have the same stories to tell. So not quite as much in common. But still in common, the main thing, which is the love of Penn State and the desire to have a strong team and proud of our legacy and, meeting and merging over the generations. And, this last weekend, or maybe it was a weekend and a half ago, Franklin, who's doing a nice job of, he does a really nice job of reaching out and trying to bridge that gap. He always says good things about the Letterman and the tradition of Penn State football, and he does a really good job of promoting that. And his idea was this: it was called the Whiteout Weekend, and we had a bunch of guys in and got to meet the new assistants. That was the thing. Everybody, things hadn't changed for years, so you go into the football office and it was the same secretaries, the same coaches, and everybody knew you. And that's very unique and very unusual, and most programs don't have that, of course. And now we're in the more common situation of having some changeovers, and he's just trying to reach out and make sure that we have the opportunity to get to know some of these other guys. And in the staff, he opens it up. Anytime you're in town, stop in, say hello, which is always what we used to do because we knew everybody. We'll say, let's start that over again. And he's trying to make that happen, and it's I give him a lot of credit for doing that. And anyway, this time I personally and everybody else who worked that a little bit, I met the Yursich, the offensive coordinator, the defense coordinator, a lot of the assistants. And man, I was very impressed with all of them, and they made it a point to try to meet as many of us as they could. So I think it did the job. We had a little golf outing and a couple of cookouts, and it was very successful and wonderful, really.
John, as is usual, we're now about 11 minutes into our interview, and we haven't talked about anything that happened on the football field. And I think that's the through line of what makes Penn State football over the years so special, is that, yeah, a lot of great football happened, but it was really about the relationships that you forged with your teammates, with the assistant coaches, and with the head football coach at the time, Coach Paterno. Take us back, Dr. Tesner. I know you and Joe stayed in contact throughout your career, right? Even after you left Penn State and your time on the gridiron was done here, that relationship continued. Talk a little bit about how Joe was supportive of you as you began to launch your career as a doctor.
Well, I may be, I don't know how to describe myself in a, I'm kind of a big mouth, or whatever, and talk a lot, I guess, and maybe that's part of the reason. This starting the Letterman's Club and being as, but he, when I opened my practice, my sports medicine grant practice, was the name of my outfit, Sports Medicine Grant Hospital, and I had a grand opening, and Paterno came to speak at my grand opening. And when I went into practice, and then I changed offices and had a bigger, better office 5 years later. He came out a second time, got to, and I'd had his phone number, so I was the kind of a guy that'd call him now and then. So I probably, because I reached out, he was, anyway, we had a really good relationship, and him coming out here and doing that was awesome. And we actually, I told him, I said, look, because I tried to make it worthwhile for him, and I said, hey, I'll have every Central Ohio football coach in this audience, and you can, get to meet them. And then I said to him, I said, and if there's any particular athletes because I want to have the coaches come with maybe a couple of their players. It was marketing for me, I said, if there's any particular players that you'd like here, I'll make sure I try to get them here. So he turned it over to the assistant at that time, was John Bove. And John Bove gave me a list of players in the area that they were kind of interested in. I made sure that I got them there. And so when I picked up Joe at the airport to drive him in for the event, I said, hey, coach, and I said, listen, this is going to be great. And I got everybody on that list here. And he said, what list? Well, I said, the list that right here, the John Bove. He said, give me that list. And he took the list and he tore it up. And because I guess that's slightly illegal. No. And interestingly, at that event was Kajana Carter. And Kajana Carter ended up going to Penn State. And currently, a very good friend of mine is Coach John Cooper, who was coaching Ohio State at that time, who was not a friend of mine at that point. And he turned us in for recruiting violations. So John Bove and I had to get our act together and have our storyline. And the storyline was, this is my business. I had all these guys in, and I wanted to get all the coaches there. And we got investigated, and we got exonerated for. We didn't get punished for anything, but I guess we were kind of on the line there for illegal recruiting. But it was those kind of things. And when Paterno was here, I always stopped to see him. And when I went go back, and I stopped to see Sue now, and all my other assistants too. But when he was here was the thing. When he was here for that one of my events, he stayed we put him up in a hotel room, and went up there to see him before and had a drink. And I brought one of the local high school coaches with me and talk. And I had a chance to sit down. This coach was pumping him with questions like, what's the greatest game you ever coached? Who's the greatest athlete you ever, And he said the greatest game he was ever at was when we had Lenny Moore and Syracuse had Jim Brown, and they both played each other against each other, and both of them had over 200 yards rushing, and I think Penn State won like 24-21 or something like that. So he said that was the greatest game. But having an opportunity to sit down and talk to him like that and get to know him and my involvement with him, so I'm very lucky to have had a very close relationship with him and the other assistant coaches. And it was always out there. You just had to work on it. They were always available for you, which was part of the beauty.
Ray, hearing you tell those stories about Joe, it confirms what everyone knows about him, and that he focused on the total student athlete experience. Do you have a favorite story about Joe? A story about him that kind of encapsulates his view on Penn State and education. Is there one story that stands out for you?
Well, he was always, he liked to read, and he would quote, different authors, his favorite poets and things like that. I mean, he understood that the total package of your experience at Penn State, for example, we never had or thought about having Letterman's just football dorms, and he wanted you to interact with the students and wanted you to experience the whole student lifestyles. It's very important to him. He knew that was a big part, more so than just the football. So I mean, he preached it and he lived it, and all the other assistant coaches bought in, to a certain extent too. And it was that kind of energy on his part that came through to all of us, and he realized that very few of us, that football would be our livelihood and our lifestyle forever, and that there was more to life than after football. It's the way it turned out. He was right. So and he was proud when his boys went on to do things in business or medicine or whatever, and that gave him as much, I think, enjoyment and satisfaction as the ones that went on to be all pro in the NFL.
Yeah, Ray, you were there early days of Success with Honor, early days of Linebacker U, right? And continued that. What were some of the big takeaways, though, that you took out of your time being a two-sport athlete at Penn State into your successful career now as an orthopedic surgeon?
Well, I mean, you practice how you play. The kind of paternoisms, that kind of stick with you is you either get better or you get worse. You never stay the same. Take care of the little things, and the big things take care of themselves. Things that he would say, like I remember once I was I was on defense mostly, but when you come in early, I was on the defensive field and practice, and he was on the offensive field 50 yards away, and one of the offensive linemen stepped back to pass protection, and you're supposed to take your first step back at 70 degrees. And this kid took it like at 30 degrees, and Paterno ran across the field and berated Shakowitz, who was a captain offensive lineman. Shakowitz, that's supposed to be 45 degrees, not 30 degrees. I told you open. So from way across the field, seeing the angle at his first drop back step was taken. There's those kind of details, and understanding that the details, and then on Saturdays, his message, he never gave big rah-rah speeches. It was, hey, we worked hard. He was screaming was done during the week. And the message was, hey, we worked hard, and we're prepared, and now go out and enjoy. I mean, that was every pregame speech was go out and have fun, go out and enjoy it, because he wanted you to play loose and free, and the hard work was done, and now go out and let it happen. So that was kind of the formula, I guess, that he preached, or that worked for him.
Those are all the greatest hits, right, John Patishnock?
Yeah, absolutely. We've had other lettermen on the show, and that's not the first time we've heard those paternoisms, and so they have stayed with Letterman for many decades.
Yeah, I bet. Yeah, I know, and I use them on my kids, and there's probably a couple more that aren't coming to my mind right now. But
how early is on time is late, right?
Oh yeah, same thing. Yeah.
Hey, Ray, we also want to ask you about, working with your brother, Tim. And for the audience who doesn't know, your brother, Tim, is deaf, but he's worked with you, and you've worked together for more than 3 decades in operating rooms using sign language and nonverbal cues. And we're going to share, the Columbus Dispatch wrote a nice story, and we're going to share that with our audience. How meaningful is that relationship that you have with your brother? That I can only imagine how close that bond is. How meaningful is that relationship to you?
Well, I got a very special brother. Gosh. And, we're a year apart. I'm a year older, and he's deaf, been deaf his whole life. So, and we're, he's very, very special. And early on, he was like a mechanic. He was in vocational rehabilitation as opposed to straightforward studies kind of thing in high school. And he was a mechanic. And, once I got into medicine and saw that you needed an assistant to help you, I thought that maybe this was something for him that would be interested in. And I happened to be getting a rotation, we call it, in Lansing, Michigan. And in Lansing, Michigan, where I was at for a month or two of my training, they had a school for physicians, surgical assistant school. And also in that same little junior college, they had a deaf services community that they catered to the deaf. So I said, well, geez, this would be a good thing for my brother. And I looked into it, and he applied. And I was only there for a month or two. And then I left, and he got accepted and went there for a year to went through their program. And then came up and worked with me my entire career. And we've been almost 40 years, and he just retired. He's a year younger than me, but he retired last year. And he's a mechanic now. Well, he still does odd jobs, but he got out of the OR before I did. And we worked together for all those years, and you need a good team, and he was a good team. And we had our hand signals. You know, when you do what I do, it's almost the same thing all the time and using the same tools, and there's not much variation. So we had a system down and didn't need much communication because he knew what I needed next really before I needed it. And we had a great time together, and we did good work.
That's a wonderful story. We're going to share that link to the Columbus Dispatch story. It's a heartwarming story of a brother's love for each other and a great partnership over the years. Ray, you have certainly swelled thy fame of dear old state with all that you have done throughout your career and in your community and on behalf of your alma mater. And for that, we're truly grateful. Thanks for sharing your story on Football Letter Live.
Oh, well, thanks. It was fun to be on, and anytime I have a chance to talk about Penn State or Penn State football and Penn State, I better say lacrosse. Now, I got to say that I was the captain of the 75 team, and I just I'm thinking about retiring, so I had a bit of a retirement party, and one of the guys who was there was named Rich Caravella. He was a football player. He was a goalie, and he gave me a lot of grief about my lacrosse skills, which weren't that great. But I was a captain of at that time of the best team in the history of Penn State lacrosse. We were ranked top 10, and I had a great time with that lacrosse too. So I better shout out to my lacrosse guys.
Absolutely, Coach Tambroni will love to hear it.
Yeah, and I follow them, and I'm proud of the Penn State lacrosse too, and I keep tabs on them, and to get back to some alumni things for that too. So I had a great time, all in, everything about it, and very proud Penn Stater, and looking forward to some good years ahead for both of those squads.
Well, thanks for joining us on Football Letter Live.
Thanks for having me.
You.
My pleasure.
So that was our conversation with Dr. Ray Buddy Tesner earlier this week. Hope everyone enjoyed that. As Paul noted, we wore matching wardrobes, matching outfits from when we did the interview to today. Consistency, continuity. And so if nothing else, we feel good about that, but obviously hope everyone enjoyed that conversation, and we'll share that story link and some other stories about Ray in the future. There we go. Now I even got it set up, the camera views, how we were during the interview. I also have to realize now I shouldn't be shouting. I felt like I was yelling at him during the interview. I get so jazzed up and enthusiastic about these wonderful stories that we're able to pass on to Penn Staters all around the world through Football Letter Live. And so I have to tone it down a little bit. Speaking of a guy who never tones it down, we have our producer, Vincent Longaro. Vincent, how are you today?
Gotta make sure I remember to unmute there. I am great. Like you guys mentioned, looking forward to a great We Are weekend. A lot of fun activities going on and will be going on all weekend. So should be a lot of fun.
Yeah, a lot of great things going on the blog. If people visit the Football Letter blog, thefootballletterblog.com, what can they expect to be reading out there?
Yeah, a lot of great content on there. John has contributed a lot there. A lot of good video coverage as well that kind of takes you to our Twitter page. But he's going to have a great story on coming up here in a bit on what drives players and kind of their motivations for competing at the highest level you can compete at in sports and in college football. So definitely check that out. And as we ramp up here toward the fall, and fall camp is probably just around the corner here in August. So going to have a lot of great content on the blog in the next couple of weeks, months, and of course throughout this season.
What else is going on around Nittany Nation? It's somewhat of a downtime, right, for Penn State sports, but some of our former athletes are doing some great things.
Yeah, kind of like you mentioned earlier, there's no off season for Penn State and Penn State sports, and of course, Sam Coffey was called up. She's a great former Nittany Lion women's soccer player and now plays for the Portland Thorns. Shout out to them for you, Paul. I know you're a big Portland Thorns, Portland Timbers supporter. So she got called up to the U.S. women's national team for the first time, and obviously, as we know, they're a juggernaut in soccer. So shout out to her. She joins a couple other Nittany Lions on that roster, and looking to make an impact before the Women's World Cup next summer in Australia, New Zealand. So she'll be definitely looking to make her mark there. Bo Nickel won his first professional MMA fight a couple weeks ago. Robin Bravo Young recently signed, I believe, with one of the top MMA agents. So, as he looks to kind of take a look at his next career path after he has one more go around with the Nittany Lions wrestling next season. So there's always something going on with Penn Staters. And I think since the last time we met, the NFL draft, so Jahan Dotson, he's headed to the Washington. What are they? The Commanders now. It's like their fourth different team name in the past 2 years. So I always kind of forget what they're called. So he joined a lot of other Penn Staters in getting drafted, and obviously we wish all of them the best success in joining Saquon Barkley and others in the NFL. So yeah, a lot going on with Penn Staters and pro sports.
I know this is Football Letter Live, right? And we always kind of look forward to the summer. And sometimes we find ourselves looking forward to the fall, right, for football season. But we sometimes get into a trap around here of wishing the summer away, which is really, I think, one of the best times to be here in Happy Valley. We have alumni coming back for We Are Weekend this weekend. I know Arts Fest is coming up, and we're a big sponsor of that. Another natural time that Nittany Lions converge on Happy Valley.
Yeah, it's always a great time in the summer. And as someone who, went to school here and was here throughout the fall and the winter, and now being here every summer, it's a great time around the summer. And obviously Arts Fest coming up as well. Here in a couple weeks, we've got that. So just a great time and a lot going on in Happy Valley in the summer. It's just always a fantastic place to be in the summer. It's a little bit quieter than when the students are here, but yeah, just a great place to be. Lot of happening here shortly.
Absolutely. Well, hey, another great show of Football Letter Live. Another, I don't want to say impromptu, but a special edition delivered for We Are Weekend. Thank you all for all the work that you put in to make this happen. Greatly appreciate that. And thanks everyone for tuning in. We have the Football Letter emails that go out. We have the Saturday send. We obviously have one that goes out on Monday during the football season. And so make sure you're checking your inbox for the football letter and all the different ways that we send that. I think there are some questions and shout outs there, John. What was it was a Charlie Pittman?
Yeah, so for this weekend, we'll have some lettering back on campus as part of We Are Weekend. Charlie Pittman and his family will be there. We have a Pioneer induction dinner tomorrow night and the class dinner Saturday night. Franco Harris and Sue Paterno will speak Saturday night, and we'll have lettermen back on campus throughout the weekend. And so, a lot to look forward to this weekend, and a lot of Penn Staters who, will really enjoy time with one another.
Absolutely. And John, we're looking forward to our third season of Football Letter Live coming up this fall. What can people expect to see from us?
Yeah, we'll be back this fall. We're going to kick off the season a little early on August 25th, the week before the season opener at Purdue. That'll be August 25th, and then we'll be back on a weekly basis for that September 8th for the second week of the season. Right now, we've got Adam Brenneman and Rodney Kinlaw scheduled for the fall. Of course, Adam Brenneman, All-American tight end, just had a monster college career, transferred to UMass, was hugely successful there. And now he's really just kind of carving out a media career. It seems really talking with a lot of high-profile college and NFL stars, very informed in what's happening in the media world and in name, image, and likeness. So Adam will be on the show on September 8th, and then Rodney Kinlaw will be on the show 2 weeks later. And for what it's worth, I think Rodney Kinlaw, one of the most underrated certainly running backs that Penn State has had. He really was a standout during his career, I believe in the middle and late 2000s. We've actually talked with him a few times for the blog. Just really sharp guy. We've talked with him for the blog. This will be the first time we've had him on the show. And we've got a lot of feelers out. We're hoping to have a lot of really standout lettermen on the show. We could sort of say their names out loud and kind of like just like, all right, now you guys have to be.
Manifest it, right?
Yeah. Well,
Brandon Short, come on
OJ
to Football
McDuffie.
Under Live. OJ McDuffie.
Yeah. So yeah, stay tuned. Registration will open in early August. Again, it'll be free. It'll be open to everyone. But if you register, you'll make sure that you get all the info ahead of time, all the links. And then, yeah, we'll be back August 25th. And then the following week after the week of the season opener, we'll be off. We'll replay the season opener, and then we'll be back on a weekly basis that second week in September, all the way through Thanksgiving. And yeah, we're thrilled to be back. We're going to be bringing you a lot of on-field video coverage. Vince will be writing a lot of really great stories this fall for the Football Letter and the blog. And yeah, we're thrilled to be back. But you bring up a good point, Paul. There have been times when I've posted something in the Penn State Facebook groups in June or July and said, what are you looking forward to about the football season? And the comments I get are, would you just let us enjoy the summer? Like, we'll think about the fall when we get to the fall. And so, yeah, there's something about a Penn State summer that I feel like everyone should experience at some point.
Well, hey, once again, thank you all for your work on this episode. Great show. Thank you all for tuning in from wherever you're watching the special We Are Weekend edition of Football Letter Live. Thank you for all you do for the university, for the glory, and for the future. We are
Penn State.
Penn State.
We weren't in sync there. It's okay. It's okay. We got a whole season to perfect that, John.